The Lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline.
It's just really us versus nature.
And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, the weather dictates the type of day that you're going to have.
Shark sighting, clear the water.
I need to ski beach dock and other units.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
1, 2, I got 3. When you get this many people coming to the beach, things are going to happen.
Hey, you all right, buddy? You there?
They are there to save you.
He told me to grab the buoy. He was literally right there.
They are there to lifeguard. This is San Diego, California, where the average summer temperature hovers around 75 degrees. The perfect weather and beautiful beaches helps bring 31 million tourists to this area every year.
The weather, especially the wind, has a very large effect on the ocean conditions at Mission Beach. The wind makes waves. When the wind blows over large areas of the ocean for a long time and is very strong, you get the largest waves.
There's always a steady crowd, especially at the beaches that have easy access and lots of parking, like here at Mission Beach. It's beating it back, and it's just a beautiful day out here on the beach. There's a lot of people that are on the beach that are visiting, and if they do venture into the water, it can be pretty dangerous. And the surf size makes it, even more challenging. The people that are going into the water, we have all different levels. We have really experienced people that are surfing, body surfing, doing long-distance ocean swims. And then there's the people that are, trying to get out and experience. You don't start as an expert, so you have to get out there to experience it, to build up your skill level, and sometimes those people get in trouble.
Soaring temperatures and large surf are a perfect recipe for boogie boarding. The popular sport is an easy way to get the thrill and excitement of riding waves without the dangers of surfing. Lifeguard Ashley Marino was watching the surf line at Tower 19.
A little boy came up to me and told me that his younger brother was hurt, that he hit his head on the bottom after boogie boarding, and he did say that he had a lot of neck pain.
19X Lifeguard Dispatch. Requesting medics to 700 Santa Clara Place for an 11-year-old male. Head to the bottom, lower back pain, LSC times 4. C-spine precautions.
Lifeguard Grant LeBeau was patrolling the beach on a UTV when the call came in.
When we got there, Ashley was obviously the only person there. So she was holding the head of the victim, so I took over. So I was controlling the head, as you don't want a C-spine patient turning their head, potentially exacerbating what's already a serious injury.
He had a full level of consciousness, but he said he was a little bit dizzy, and he did say that he had a lot of neck pain.
Ashley was born and raised in the water culture of San Diego.
I definitely love being here. I began lifeguarding in high school. The part I like best is saving lives, and that sounds so cliche, but that is the best part.
Ashley is a fantastic lifeguard. She's very natural in her job. She's a very compassionate person. When you combine that with her skills and abilities in the water, with her communication skills, and that's what's needed in lifeguarding, because that's our job, is customer service.
I guess my vision of lifeguarding, yes, would be to be here in 10, 15 years. I can't think of a better environment to work in.
Don't squeeze my fingers. Very good. Move your fingers for me. Very good.
He was definitely in a little bit of agony, kind of squirming. He was in pain, obviously.
San Diego lifeguard Sergeant Rick Strobel arrives at Tower 19 to back up Marino and LeBeau.
This is a very serious situation. What we want to do is immediately try to immobilize the patient. The young boy hit the bottom of the ocean with his head, causing some severe pain in his mid-back region. A C-spine emergency is a cervical spine injury. This is a very serious situation.
C-spine precaution is a term for immobilizing the cervical spine or neck of a victim who may be at risk of serious injuries, such as paralysis. The most important task now is for lifeguards to immobilize and secure the victim.
Arms up.
bottom when he was boogie boarding, and now he's experiencing pain in his back. So we contacted paramedics, so they're en route.
Can you move your arms, your legs?
He can move, he's got pulse movement sensation. Yep.
All right, you'll be okay.
San Diego Fire Department paramedics arrived to take over care of the victim.
1, 2, 3.
The medics got there really fast. They're actually only a mile up the road. And then they got him to the hospital for x-rays and to get a doctor's opinion.
All the way up now.
We have a program, everybody knows what to do, and this one went really smooth, each person handling a different job. That enabled us to get the patient quickly turned over to medics.
The city of San Diego employs almost 300 lifeguards. These men and women keep watch over 24 miles of pristine cliffs, beaches, and parks. Of those 300, 2/3 are seasonal lifeguards, meaning they only work during the hot summer months. While some look at this as a part-time job, Ashley Marino wants to make this her career.
I've worked seasonally for about 9 years now, but I've known that I wanted to do this full-time for the last 4 years.
When summer ends, many lifeguards head back to college. Ashley Marino also went to school, but her education was very different.
Multiple targets near the area.
Welcome to New Zealand, where lifeguarding is as dangerous as it is rewarding.
Hang on tight, hang on!
Low-pressure systems generated in the South Pacific create some of the most constant wave swells in the world. Lifeguards here specialize in big wave rescues, with an average of 1,500 saves per year.
I went over just after our summer ended, and I went to Auckland, New Zealand, which is on the North Island, and tried out. And lo and behold, I ran into another one of my coworkers at the first day of tryouts. We had no idea that each other was going to be over there.
Let's get it, Wes!
The first time I saw her was at the tryout, and it was awesome seeing a familiar face, and it was a pleasant surprise.
80 hopefuls tried out. Ashley and Wes were 2 of 40 who made the cut. The two Americans are now a part of the country's impressive lifeguard heritage.
They've been lifeguarding for over 100 years. Over there, they have a long history, so they're respected.
New Zealand is comprised of 2 island landmasses. Between both islands, it has over 9,000 miles of coastline. Because of the country's wildly varying topography and weather, lifeguards in New Zealand must utilize many unique skills.
Everywhere you look is swell. It's the conditions, it's the different terrain, rugged coastline, large swell exposure. It's basically 2 islands, so it's storms coming from the Tasman or the Pacific and pounding the coastline. It can be very dangerous because you're expected to do quite a bit over there with very limited resources.
Although they don't have PWCs or jet skis there that they use to make rescues, they use what we used to use, the little inflatable boats, the little orange boats. They were invented in New Zealand first, so they take a lot of pride in those and they actually race them. But they also use them on a daily basis to make rescues. If a victim is pretty far offshore, or there's a rescue that's a little ways away from the beach, they'll send their boats out with a few people.
But the inflatable boats are not the only difference here.
Lifeguarding in New Zealand was a different experience. I found the first obvious difference that I saw was that you're working sometimes at these extremely remote beaches, and the nearest ambulance or hospital is maybe 50 minutes away.
The difference between lifeguarding in New Zealand versus San Diego is you're expected to do quite a bit over there, dealing with large surf and boats in remote locations with minimal resources.
It's a very different style of lifeguarding, but When you get down to it, it's the same thing. You have your fins, you have your rescue can, or over there they use a soft tube, and just make rescues.
Ashley took part in many rescues during her summer in New Zealand. Each one was unique.
Lifeguard, we just have a report of a missing kiteboarder.
One of the most memorable experiences I had over there was when we got a call of kite surfer missing, and we didn't see anyone out in the water. Right, just keep an eye out and I'll go grab Isaac. We launched IRBs, our inflatable rescue boats. We must have gone 2 miles past the harbor, and we actually spotted him.
Big ahead.
Chase, where did the call come from?
Police. Directly from the local police.
One of the rescues I remember most, there was a report of a missing person. Authorities had found the car of the person who was missing on top of this gorge.
You guys gonna shoot around to Tuatua Bay? Isaac knows where it is, and just do a severe scan of the coastline.
Day we had got the call and we immediately launched our inflatable rescue boats and went south of the coastline about 3 or 4 miles to the gorge where the car was found.
Hey, we've reached the gorge and ready to start the search.
From there, we got off the boats and went up into the ravine to search.
Hello! Search to the rescue! Is there anyone there?
It was a rugged coastline, uninhabited, no trails or anything. A little more different than your typical water rescue.
Search to the rescue! Yeah? Hello! So I can go up over this ridge? Hello! Hello! Search to the rescue! Is there anyone there?
We searched for about an hour. We covered a lot of ground and we didn't find anything.
Searching from land. Over.
Please return to base. Please return to base.
The most important thing I brought back from New Zealand was that lifeguarding is an international community and wanted to gain an experience that would go to my goals as a lifeguard here in San Diego.
When it finally registers that you actually saved a life or 2 or 3 or 4, it's a great feeling, and I think it's why many of us choose to, have this as a career.
The landscape in northern San Diego is defined by its jagged cliffs and rocky coastline. This region is home to several distinct microclimates. Here, the weather can vary greatly over just a few miles, and locals know a trip to La Jolla Shores is always a sure way to beat the heat.
Apparently there's a heat wave going on. People are coming from all over the county because this is the only cool spot that we have right now. We're in the 80s for the air temperature. There's a breeze coming off the ocean. The water is 72 degrees. This is why people come to Southern California in the summertime for days just like this.
But the crowds are not alone. The warm water has brought other visitors close to shore.
We kind of have the perfect storm going on for stingrays right now. We've got the weekend, which brings in extra people. The water is warm, so everybody's going into the water. There's basically no surf down here, so there's no crashing waves or anything to scatter the stingrays. They're coming in, they're feeding in the shallow water. The stingrays are trying to enjoy the beach, the people are trying to enjoy the beach, and we just don't all mix well together.
Is that pin really bad?
It was at first. I was just surfing out there and I just came down off a wave and I stepped on what I thought was the tether to my surfboard, and it felt like it ripped up through in between my little toe and the toe next to it. But apparently it was a stingray and it stung really bad. I've had nails through my foot that don't hurt that bad.
Stingrays use their poisonous barb as a defense mechanism. So what happens is people that are out playing in the surf can't see the rays buried. They accidentally step on the ray, and that's when people usually get injured. They get stuck in the foot, usually, or the ankle. And then, of course, the minute somebody feels that, they lift up on their foot and the ray skitters away.
It's 11 a.m., and lifeguards are already treating their 7th stingray victim.
We're gonna keep giving you hot water, and you're gonna keep it as hot as you can stand it.
Okay.
It's gonna wick the poison out.
I was sort of swimming out in the waves. I just put my foot down to stand for a second. I felt a sharp sting. So I just decided I better swim right back right away, and the lifeguard sent me here. So I got here within a minute, and I've been putting hot water on my foot ever since.
With more stingray injuries coming in, Sergeant Cranston is now faced with a problem. He doesn't have enough manpower to take care of the victims and keep a close eye on the water.
We're running out of personnel to treat the large amount of victims.
Lifeguard dispatch copies. Dispatch copy requesting a BLS ambulance to La Jolla Shores.
And then we have one current.
We're equipped to handle a certain amount of stingray victims down here. It's something we do quite regularly. However, the large amount of victims that we're getting, we're kind of running out of resources and we're running out of personnel. So we've requested some additional EMTs, and they're going to come down here and just help us maintain treatment on all these victims. We're running some rescues in the water and just our regular weekend activity. And if we have any big activity go on and we don't have any more lifeguards here to treat the stingray victims, we need some EMTs here. They can take over treatment and just keep all the victims being treated as they need for their pain and monitoring all their vital signs or anything else that may need to be done for them.
I'm gonna wrap this again. I just want to make sure it doesn't fall.
We've had the stingrays keep coming in waves, and they seem to be going on the tidal change. When the tide changed from low to start coming in, we had a swarm of them, and now the tide's high and it's just changed to go back out. They seem to have come in force again.
It's going to get hot.
With additional EMTs now on scene, Sergeant Cranston is able to assign lifeguards back to their normal duties.
We've got a little triage area here. We're calling it Stingray City. And luckily, we've got a lot of extra personnel to help us out. So we're getting people out of the sun and away from the glare of the ocean. And they can sit back here in the park and enjoy their bucket of hot water while they soak and relax their pain away.
You need more hot water?
Yeah, I need some.
You need some? I'm gonna go back and get another bucket. I'll get one for all of you.
Getting near the end of the day, and the stingrays have started to slow down, and we're starting to treat them and clear them out of here. So we're happy that the stingrays seem to be going to bed for the evening, so we can get everybody out of here and let them go to bed as well.
This is Torrey Pines State Reserve, where steep sandstone cliffs are crowned by a wide, flat plateau overlooking Torrey Pines State Beach. Complementing the state beach is a placid lagoon, which is vital to migrating seabirds. This area of the beach is protected by seasonal state lifeguards and full-time peace officers like Ed Vadraska.
So because we're at Torrey Pines, we have a very unique situation that lifeguards here deal with. Not only do we have beaches, but we have these trails. We have 12, 15 miles of trails just right here in the main part of the park. So people unfortunately do fall, they sprain ankles, they fracture femurs. So our guards are all trained in immobilization and splinting techniques. We have a number of different tools at our disposal. We have cliff rescue equipment that we can use. We also have the use of helicopters, and we can call the city helicopters for flying people out if the areas are too remote or too precarious.
Dispatch to 26. We have a confirmed report of an injured hiker by the train tracks on the North Park border.
Here we respond from the beach or the top.
125-872, dispatch to duty. And a response from the 101 on top and come down.
We're being called by the other unit here at Torrey Pines to a hiker that has fallen at the base of the bluffs here. It's a little bit remote of an area.
Del Mar lifeguards have also responded to the scene.
Mark Rass, how are you? Good to see you.
The first responder, lifeguard Matt Brammer, is at the bottom of the ravine with the victim.
So we pulled up, looked down in the canyon. It's obviously a very steep canyon. She was actually at the very bottom, just below the railroad tracks when we got down there with the equipment, put her on. The only option was to carry her out.
Vadraska and the Del Mar lifeguards descend quickly down the trail to the victim. She is waiting with her boyfriend, along with lifeguard Brammer.
She had blown out her knee, and she literally couldn't bend it at all without excruciating pain. So the decision was made to put her on a backboard, which gives us the greatest amount of essentially splinting her whole body.
Everybody ready?
All steps.
This very last half, about 20, 30 yards or so, the canyon kind of goes straight up.
This seems pretty. Seems better.
Okay, hold it. I can't go further.
Right.
What's your first name?
Barbara.
Barbara.
Barbara, you did good.
Barbara, I'm just going to check your feet out a little bit here, okay? Barbara, can you wiggle your toes? Great. Which toe am I touching here?
My big toe.
Okay, how about here?
No.
Do you have any more pain up in here, in your hip area? Like right here?
No, it's just around my knee and my thigh.
Given a choice, the victim declines an ambulance to the hospital. Lifeguards follow procedure and release her AMA, against medical advice.
I just know that my knee bent and it came out of its socket. I could hear it pop. And then I fell to the ground. I started screaming, and my boyfriend was like, "Oh, let me carry you out." I'm like, "No!"
Situations like these don't come up too often, although I'm familiar with them because working here all the time. It's tough, but worked out.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.